And lastly, and this is huge for participating foundations, we provide a national research component that provides participating foundations, some of them with about half and in some cases even more of the indicators that they need to publish. And this is a pretty big topic, so for some foundations, what we are able to put together in terms of data coming from the national source is a significant portion of what they would need to publish, and for others less so. Just to sort of be clear, what this is a contract that CFC holds with a researcher based here in Ottawa, and he gathers data from mostly federal government sources, but also other national sources on all of the communities participating, and then we publish that outward, throughout the spring and early summer so that it can go into the local reports. The one comment I would make on that is while it definitely is helpful for smaller communities, in a lot of cases the data available from these sources doesn't reach into the super small communities across the country. So in no way does this mean that there isn't also a need for individual foundations or foundations working together, as Don did with his colleagues, to also gather from provincial and regional and municipal sources. So the common elements, what does it mean that this is a national program? This slide shows all the things that we being all the foundations participating, have agreed to use or do as a result of participating in the national program. So this is kind of what makes it a national program. We have a common release date, and this is always the first Tuesday in October. This date was originally chosen because it tends to coincide with elections. We have a lot of elections, both municipal and provincial, in October, and we've really found that if Vital Signs is released in the beginning of that same month, it really gives a boost to the profile of Vital Signs. We've been publishing at this time for several years in a row now, and we have found that the media and other organizations that might publish similar kinds of reports kind of leave that space to us and anticipate that we will be releasing at this time. As I already took you through, there are the 10 issue areas, and we ask foundations to publish data in all of those, or at least 5 of them in a given year. And correspondingly, in each of the issue areas, there is a single indicator. So whereas an issue area might be environment, an indicator would be something like water use per resident. So in each of the issue areas, there is an indicator that in every year we ask all the participating foundations to publish. If it's available, we're not super strict about this, but the reason we do it is twofold. Firstly, because those are the indicators upon which the national report is based. So if your local report contains those, there's a back and forth and a mirroring between the national content and the local. And it also creates some commonality amongst all the local reports. We have a boilerplate description of what Vital Signs is, and we ask everyone to include that in their published report. We ask everybody to use the standard title of, Communities Vital Signs. We ask you to acknowledge the title as a registered trademark. We ask you to use the standard Vital Signs word mark within your published reports, and we have graphic standards that are available, very clear graphic standards that help you produce that. And lastly, we ask you to acknowledge Community Foundations of Canada as the founders and owners of Vital Signs and their permission to use the trademark. And all of these common elements are outlined in an application form that we have every year. So you'll be sort of asked to agree to all of these things. So all of the detail, it's actually quite a long form, mostly because it details all of these things. So if you're interested, I'm certainly happy to send that out soon. I haven't, now that I think of it, I haven't actually completed the 2011 form, but I could do that very soon if anyone wants to look at that sooner rather than later. So I'm actually going to pass it back to Dawn now. We're keeping a good pace. We're, I would say, about about 3/4 of the way through, so that's good. And we're going to talk now about some of the benefits of vital signs. So we've talked about the work, we've talked about the challenges. Now I think we should talk a bit about why you would do this. So Don, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Let me say, first of all, that we were very highly motivated to do vital signs as a small community right back from the very first day when we saw what Toronto did, which is what you talked about in the introductory with Sarah. But we were stymied, being a very small community, to say, wow, how are we going to be able to do this? This is cost prohibitive and we don't have the infrastructure to do that. But let me just tell you why, despite those potential obstacles, which we have overcome and we can talk about, we decided to do this. First of all, we wanted to get more involved with strategic grant making. We understood that term. It's a principle that we follow in community foundations, but are we really doing that, or were we just being proactive to people who make applications? And so we saw vital signs as an opportunity for us to really start thinking about where we are making our grants and are they going to the right place in the community. And our granting committee is, as a result of producing vital signs, has basically rewritten some of our granting guidelines to include we will be using vital signs when we consider our granting in the future. Also, we weren't really too sure what kind of a leadership role we should be playing in the community, and we've been able to link in the last couple of years directly what we're doing in our leadership initiatives in a community based on what we found out with vital signs. So that's really key for us. And let me say that second point about provides community leadership. Vital signs in and of itself is a community leadership activity. We once had a report card on the community, about 10 years ago, that was a one-shot production because we had some provincial money and quite a bit of it, and the community undertook to do this report, which was awesome. And it's very similar to what Vital Signs does today. But because it was a one-shot only government grant, as we often experience, we had no resources to continue in the community at that time to continue with this very valuable report card. And so when I first saw Vital Signs several years ago, I thought, aha, here's an opportunity for us to bring back this really valuable contribution to our community. And we are now the community report card. The Sunshine Coast Community Foundation's name is synonymous now with report cards on our community, and we're really, really proud about that. Also, that third point is that it really does increase the community's understanding, or the foundation's understanding, rather, of the community. As the manager of Vital Signs now for 2 years, I can really, really say that I have learned so much about my community and how it works and where the needs are and where the opportunities and challenges are. And what really resonated for me through this experience of doing Vital Signs is not only do we understand our community more, but we really get a handle on the interrelationship between some of the different issue areas, which we really clearly didn't understand in the past.